Right, so back again with the DC-3 project now. After sanding and shaping the fuselage, I realized I needed to get the nose cone figured out. If I'm going to, obviously, if I have to figure out the tail cone, I need to figure out the nose cone, which creates a problem, or at least a challenge. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4 fixed points of reference, but not just reference, but of limitation on exactly where and how this part is going to fit. Now, I can't press it into place here because I've got a lot of filler slathered around that nose to try and bring it into line with the fuselage as it sits. And as I said, with the fuselage, all I was going to do was keep through shaping it and getting it smooth was all I was going to accomplish was more reduction in this area around the front of the airplane, more reduction, and that would have made the nose even more oversized to the rest of. Once I went to fit it on there, it would have become more of a challenge to fit it. So it was time to get it sorted. So the way you do that is, first you want to cut the nose cone away from its mothership plastic. And I've showed you before the method I use for that, which is simply to hold the blade along the line that I've traced around the outside of the part, right at the juncture to the backer, to this piece. And you just place the tip of the blade right against the black line you've drawn. And instead of pulling the blade around, as you might think, where you're doing this and cutting around the part, you just want to hold the blade still on that line and turn the part so that you're driving the part around the blade. You're actually pushing the part and not the blade, and it helps you keep everything close to the line. In fact, on the line. If you're constantly lifting the blade out and relocating and pulling and then picking it up and turning the part and doing that again and then lifting the blade and turning the part, you're not creating a consistent curve. So you want to just place the tip of the blade down and rotate the part and never move the blade. Never lift it, never move it. And that gets you a nice clean cut. And then what you want to do is take that cutout there, and you need to make an infill piece that goes inside of the nose cone and fits flush all the way around, just as if the part were solid. It's going to have a balsa cap inside of this circumference of the back edge. And you do that by taking this part, drawing that black line. Oh, I've lost my marker. Well, if it ain't one thing, it's another. It's right in front of me. So you take this, you trace this out, and then you cut the backer. Of course, I did that hastily and poorly. And then cut that out carefully. And now, in this instance, it's a little different. You actually have to cut and slice and draw this out. But you do it in sections. Never crossing the line, just coming up to the line with the blade until it's perfectly to the shape that you've drawn. And then you're going to sand the circumference of that piece of wood all the way around continuously. You're just going to keep at it, making it more and more of a better circle. You don't want to distort the part. In other words, since this part was just a little bit flat across the top, well, I had to maintain that little bit of flatness across the top. So as I'm sanding, I'm keeping that area more or less flat, and then sanding these into a more circular shape, and then testing it by holding it against the bulkhead, the number 1 former on the fuselage, just to see how that was fitting. And as you can see, it came out a little high here at the front. So I left it high in the cockpit and went flush for the fuselage, figuring that since this area is all going to be concealed under the cockpit cover, that it wouldn't matter if that was a little bit high compared to the glare shield. It's going to be covered, and of course I'll paint this black, this strip of balsa that I added, and that's what I did to try and level it out here. Was I just took a 1/16 square stringer, soaked it in water, wrapped it around something of a proper diameter, close enough, right? Just wrapped it around this, and then cemented it right there on top of the glare shield into the back, of the nose cone, and its backer, and its balsa sheet of backer. So that went straight up against this, and it might get a little bit of filler and it might not, but it's definitely, I'll be painting that black just as soon as I can get everything smooth and faired and flush the way it ought to be elsewhere around the nose. It's going to be a couple of sessions of filling and sanding to get that just right, but we're on the road to it. Okay, so that's where we are. I wanted to show you that I've actually gone through a couple of applications of filler and 2 full sanding shaping sessions, and we're getting the fuselage more rounded. It still has a couple of flat spots, but that usually takes 5 or 6 volleys of adding filler and sanding it off, and covering it in filler and sanding it, and so on. And then comes the clear coat, the sand and seal. So anyway, that's I wanted to show you that the nose cone is now fitted to the airplane. So the next step here is to cut out the windows. Just cut out these squares best I can, straight and clean. Each one of them, there's what, 5 windows? 6 windows. So we'll get those cut off. I'll get the clear acetate glued to the inside walls of the windows frames, and then we'll tape these off from the outside. And at that point, once that's all done, I can glue this on, so that when it's painted from the outside, all I have to do is peel the tape off, and the windows will be nice and clean and clear, and hopefully straight and so forth. Right, so that's the project at this point. I don't know what we're on now, part 10 maybe, something like that. Appreciate everybody's following the DC-3 Western Airlines passenger aircraft build. This is Guillow's 132 scale DC-3, and I've got the wheels mocked up, or glued up. Actually, all I need now is a bit of filler and paint. The wheels will be done, and so I'm working back and forth on different aspects of the build. The next steps, while this is going on, I'll start infilling the bottoms of the bottom of the center section, the wing center section. I need to get that completed and plumbed with wiring and all that happy stuff before I can seal up the top, sand it to shape, and then get that center section applied to the airplane. And of course, when that's done, I can start working on the engine nacelles and the outer wing panels, get those infilled and start shaping them. And then I can start working on the landing gear and the propellers, and we'll be headed towards the end of the project at that point. Right, so this is where we are on the project, and that's your update. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.